So what if I told you you might be failing as a leader and you don't even realize it? Your team might be writing code, shipping features, maybe you even hit your goals last quarter, but does that actually mean you're doing a good job as a leader? And the short answer is absolutely not. You need more signal. So, hi, I'm Pedro. I've spent over a decade as an engineering manager from scrappy startups to places like Facebook. I've built several teams that have exceeded expectations year after year with high promotion rates, even in challenging environments. Of course, I made mistakes along the way. It wasn't all rainbows and unicorns. At some point, I realized that I had to systemize my approach to leadership so that I could improve continuously. But this helped me remove the guesswork, allow me to be more efficient, but more importantly, consistent with the way I was building teams to achieve consistent results. So now what I do is I coach other managers to achieve the same results, sometimes using some of my systems or just experience. But the goal is to remove the guesswork so that they can achieve greatness faster. Okay? So today I'm handing to you the exact questions I asked myself and other leaders to get a really crisp idea how we really are doing. No BS. So some of these questions might sting. You might not be able to answer. You might not even understand some of them, but I'll explain. But if you are a new engineering manager or you want to be a great one, you need to hear this and figure out the answers to some of these. So let's jump in. Okay, so let's go into business impact. The way to think about impact is how much have you moved the needle on something the business cares about? Let's say that all your team does is page performance. And the question would be, how many pages have you improved? By how much? The answer is going to be your impact that the team had, okay? Within 3 months, for example. Now, the first question to ask yourself is that enough for the amount of people you have? For example, 6 engineers who are all senior, and there's only 10 pages in the website? The answer is probably no, but maybe yes, depending on how complex the changes are. It's a good question, by the way, and I could say that when I started as a manager, I didn't even think about relative to the team size. So eventually I learned, and I now question myself, is like, for the goals we have now and the ones we have in the future, do I have the right amount of people, skills, etc.? Okay. So the second question is, was the team focused on high impact work without unnecessary blockers? So here's the thing. It is your responsibility to figure out ways to unblock the team. And that includes if some blockers become systematic. For example, if there is a piece of the code base that you are maintaining, your team is owner, and that thing is failing all the time to the point there's incident after incident interrupting your team and needing them to firefight. Your responsibility is to figure out a way to prioritize making that part of the code base of the platform more reliable, okay, and fail less, so that your team is less interrupted, the system is healthier, and as a result, there's less firefighting. So that's a hell of a fix. But there's others. If the team is stuck in meetings, that's your responsibility, okay? So ask yourself, what was blocking the team, and for how long? And how long did it take for you to intervene? It's a great question to understand how you are helping the team achieve its goals. Okay, so did you deliver high quality maintainable code, or is tech debt piling up? It's very usual to just focus on delivering the product, sprint after sprint, and there goes the system. Tech debt all over, slowing down everyone like a swamp. And as a leader, you should be able to look, zoom out, and understand whether your team is spending enough time or not thinking longer term. So if the team is shipping code that is not tested, simple as that, 6 months later, someone else goes and changes that part of the code and breaks. It's on you. You didn't spot or didn't spend enough time thinking about the way or the quality with which your team was delivering their code, how that would affect them or other teams. So ask yourself, do we have the right bar for quality? And figure out ways to work with your team to raise the bar. If they're not testing, coach them. Ask yourself, why are they not testing? Maybe they don't know how to write tests. But these are the ways you as a manager can figure out how to help your team. Okay? So, people management. People management. I can tell you that people management is one of the hardest parts of being a manager. The path to greatness requires you to be so good at managing people that creating a high performing team and maintaining it and etc. it's 10% of your time. I've met leaders like this that were just so good at building teams and organizations that it took them like 10% of their time because of the way they systemized, how far ahead they were thinking from experience, right? If I don't do this and if I don't do that, I know this problem is going to happen. So there's a few questions that you should ask yourself to make sure your team is healthy. Are team members empowered, growing, and happy, or are they just surviving? Happiness is relative to the person's definition of what makes them happy. And also, happiness sometimes can be a moment in time that you have absolutely no control over. But consistency. If a team is consistently unhappy every time they work with you, that's a problem. There's some real introspection required there to understand why. And I'm sure you can figure out. But here's the thing. If people are consistently happy with you, if people thrive because they hang out with you, just because they are around you, that's amazing. Are people in your team getting promoted? When was the last time you were able to help an engineer get promoted? It's a hard question for a lot of people. And here's the thing. Sometimes you might not even have the right opportunities or the knowledge, whatever. But ultimately, it's the manager's responsibility to ensure that when there is an opportunity, someone who has behaved or been behaving at the next level, they are matched with the opportunity to either be promoted, to grow, whatever it is. And if, for example, I am the one consistently scoping out product features, and there's someone in my team who is strong in terms of organization, but they never have the opportunity to step up their game beyond execution and maybe scope the work, like, it is my responsibility to make sure I understand that if I stop doing that and I work with that person until they are good at scoping out the work and they are able to create direction where others execute on and they have a reasonable amount of impact, that's great. So it is on me to find opportunities to change the pieces on the board in order to make sure people are growing, to make sure there's opportunities for them to grow. And sometimes it might mean they need to move to a different team. Okay? Empowered means people are not just executing tickets. It's one of the most common things I've seen in companies is when I go to a team or join a team, whatever it is, or a space, and people are just executing. Just like go on the board, pick a ticket. And 9 times out of 10, they want to do a lot more. They have a lot more in them. They're just like at 5% of their talent. And when you actually create the opportunity, you give them the space to take more responsibility, to apply different skills other than just coding, you would be surprised. So ask yourself, in your team, when was the last time You stopped doing something that the team needs to, like cutting, scoping work, and you gave an opportunity to someone else within your team to do it, and then coach them until they became great at it. So the other question is, can the team do more today than 6 months ago? This is absolutely a killer question. If I would ask you, is your team able to do more today than 6 months ago because of you? Like, can you show me how you made that possible? And if the answer would be yes, some of the things would be, I worked with person X and Y to skill them up to the point where we're driving a lot of the direction for the team. And I coached them on how to establish themselves as the recognized leaders for certain parts of the code base. I figured that another team needed a person that is amazing on this particular part of the front end, and I happened to have one, and I didn't have the opportunities for that person to make those improvements, so I worked with the other team for that person to go and help them out. These are all things that add up and accumulate. It's when you are actively looking at the people you have, their strengths, and what the team needs in order to function, and the other teams need in order to function, and then you just start connecting the dots. So ask yourself, can your team do more today than 6 months ago as a result of you? Can you tell me why your team is doing more now because of you? Okay? All right. Does the data show a healthy team, retention, promotions, or are people leaving? So here's the thing. It's very common for companies to have health surveys. There's plenty of them in the internet. The key dimensions are, do they feel supported by you? Have you helped them in any way increase their impact? Do they feel like you help them develop new skills? And these are all difficult questions, and you won't be great at all of them, and that's fine. In the past, I learned that it's more suspicious to have amazing scores than to have good scores and some areas of improvement, because the more your team will be direct and honest with you, the scores will be more realistic, but they won't be always at the 100%, and that's fine. But figure out a way to work with your manager, etc., to create data points for what areas your team feels like you need to support them better at. Okay? Of course, you can look at promotions, number of promotions, etc., that come from a team, but that doesn't work for all companies. All right. So, are new hires onboarding smoothly or flailing like a fish out of water? So, here's the thing. I have seen and I've had teams where people would come in and they would tell me, I feel like it was sink or swim. And after being told that a couple of times, I've started to work with the team on figuring out a way to onboard people better. So what were the things that after 3 months of them being onboarded, it would have helped them to know sooner? Okay? And this is a very easy question. Like, if you don't have a good onboarding process, let someone on board and a month later ask them, hey, now that you have all this knowledge, what would be the things you would have wished to know sooner? Okay? But onboarding is very important. A first impression lasts a very long time. So, there's a lot to people management. I probably will do more videos around it, but the most important thing to understand here is literally that your ability to support the team will be reflected on their own growth, their ability to achieve more than they would before you joined or started helping them through coaching, etc. Those are killer indicators. Okay, finally, let's go into collaboration. So here's the thing. A team usually doesn't work in isolation. In medium, scale-ups already, you don't necessarily, startups even, you don't work in isolation. And also, you as a manager, you have the partner to product manager. You should be talking to other engineering managers as well. And if you do, are other teams winning because of the relationships they have with you? Are they running away from you? Are you not talking to anyone at all? So here's the thing. Ask yourself, is your team a good partner to others? Are you enabling their success? For example, if your team has expertise optimizing page performance, whatever, are you able to build tools that help other teams to improve their own pages? That's collaboration. Did you prioritize your team's goals versus external asks, or just say yes to everything? Very important. If, for example, you are a team that builds a compiler that everyone in the company needs to use, but there's some improvements that you need to do that will help you to make better compilers in the future, are you just saying yes to all the improvements and bug reports, etc., that come from external teams? Or are you spending enough time thinking, how do we prioritize our own improvement so that we can then do a better job long term to help other teams? Okay. Here's the thing. Company impact. The reality is that the best managers don't just focus on their own teams. They help shape the company, okay? So if you left tomorrow, would the company even feel it? Like, or they would just like, okay, let's just hire a new person. Have you made some significant improvement to the way we hire, to the way the culture around uptime looks like, so that teams prioritize bugs that improve the reliability, uptime, etc. of their product? Whatever it is. Have you been involved in making the teams or organization or company better in some way? The answer should be yes. Okay? So ask yourself, did I make the company better through recruiting, initiatives, or engineering culture? You can also just like help interview people. Okay? But remember that just because your team is delivering their work, etc., that doesn't mean it's enough. So anyways, I would love to understand where you stand in all of this. Because these questions, I mean, it took me a long time to explain through everything, because it is, I mean, management is just, it's a long topic. And I can tell you that the hardest part for engineering managers so far, I'm still to see something different, is becoming great people managers. Because the better you are as a people manager, the better you are at ensuring you have the right people, the right personalities, the right skills, the right everything to achieve whatever goals you need. So remember to ask yourself all these questions. And if you don't know the answer, if you don't understand the question, whatever it is, just leave a comment here. As I said, I am on a mission to help other managers to remove a lot of the guesswork from becoming good people managers, etc. So leave your comments, and I'll see you in the next video.